Your doctor told you to count carbs, told you to watch your portions, told you to take your medication on time, every time, and you did all of that. You did everything they asked. Surprised. So explain to me why your fasting glucose is still climbing, why your A1C crept up 0.5 point last quarter, why you're eating less than you ever have, and the numbers keep getting worse. Here's what they didn't tell you. And honestly, this one took me a while to understand myself. The problem isn't how many carbs you eat. It's not even what carbs you eat. The problem is how fast those carbs reach your bloodstream. The speed, the velocity of sugar hitting your blood after a meal. That's where the damage happens. And there's one seed, one tiny, ancient seed, smaller than a grain of rice, that physically blocks sugar absorption before it ever enters your blood. Not with a drug, not with a chemical compound, not with some expensive extract, with a gel that forms inside your digestive tract and literally slows everything down. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. The clinical trials, the mechanism, the mistakes that cancel the benefit, all of it. Stick with me through this entire video. Because the number one benefit of this seed, the one I saved for last, is something I genuinely believe every endocrinologist in America should be talking about with their patients. But they're not. And I'll explain exactly why that silence is costing you. Now, before I get into the proven benefits, ranked from important to life-changing, I need you to understand something first. Because I don't want you to hear seed and think this is some health food store gimmick. This isn't that. This isn't a supplement. It's not a pill. It's not some exotic extract shipped from a country you've never heard of with a label you can't read. This is a food. A real food. It costs roughly $3 a bag at any grocery store in America. It's been eaten for over 5,000 years. The Aztecs, and look, I don't usually go into history because that's not my thing, but the Aztecs called this their running food because warriors would carry it into battle. A single tablespoon mixed with water sustained their energy for hours, without spiking blood sugar, without crashing afterward. And modern clinical research from universities in Toronto, Chile, and Kuwait has confirmed exactly why. But here's what frustrates me, and I mean genuinely frustrates me. The supplement industry makes billions with a B, selling you pills that your body absorbs at 30% efficiency. Sometimes less, 30%. That means 70 cents of every dollar you spend on those supplements, gone, passed right through you. Literally flushed. And the companies know this. They've always known. This seed, your body absorbs it at close to full capacity because it's food. Your digestive system evolved to process food, not isolated compounds pressed into tablets. And it doesn't just deliver one nutrient. It delivers 7 different mechanisms that all work together simultaneously against high blood sugar. 7 from one seed. If you believe that kind of information should be free and available to everyone, not locked behind a prescription pad or a $30 supplement bottle, drop a comment right now saying, "I deserve all the truth." Only the people profiting from your confusion won't comment. Because what I'm about to reveal makes their entire business model real uncomfortable. And hey, subscribe right now if you haven't already. Because the videos I make are specifically for people over 60 who are tired of being sold to. I'm not selling supplements here. I'm showing you what the research actually says. Hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. Quick note, even though I present medical research in this video, I'm not your personal physician. Please talk to your doctor before making any changes to your diet or medication regimen. All peer-reviewed studies cited in this video are linked in the description below. Every single one. Trackable. Verifiable. I don't make claims I can't back up. Now, before I show you the ranked list, we need to clear something up first. Because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of wrong information floating around about this seed. Instagram, TikTok, even some doctor channels. And if you go in with the wrong expectations, you'll miss the real benefit entirely. So, let me kill 3 myths right now. Myth number 1. This seed will cure your diabetes. No. Stop. Full stop. That's not what the research says. Not even close. And anyone telling you that, anyone using the word cure next to a food, is either lying to you, hasn't read the actual studies, or is trying to sell you something. What the research actually shows is that this seed can meaningfully reduce postprandial glucose spikes. That's the spike that happens after you eat. And that it does this through a physical mechanism, not a pharmaceutical one. It slows absorption. It doesn't eliminate the disease. It's not a cure. It's a tool. A very powerful tool that works alongside your medication, alongside your diet, alongside everything else you're doing. But a tool. Myth number 2. You need to eat a huge amount for it to work. Also wrong. And this one actually comes from the wellness community, believe it or not. People telling you to eat half a cup a day, making these giant chia pudding bowls that look like, I don't even know what they look like. You don't need all that. Clinical trials use doses as small as 7 grams. That's roughly 1 tablespoon, and still measured significant reductions in blood sugar after meals. The 2013 dose-response trial by Ho and colleagues tested 7 grams, 15 grams, and 24 grams. All 3 doses showed reductions. You don't need to eat a cup of this stuff and feel like you swallowed a sponge. A tablespoon or 2 used correctly, and I'll tell you exactly how at the end, is enough to change what happens inside your gut after a meal. Myth number 3, and this one actually makes me angry. I'm being honest, it makes me angry. Seeds don't matter. Just take your metformin and shut up. I've heard doctors say this, not all doctors, but enough. Look, metformin is a good drug. I have enormous respect for metformin. It's one of the most studied, most reliable diabetes medications in existence. I'm not here to argue against your medication, not even a little bit, but metformin works primarily by reducing glucose production in your liver. Hepatic gluconeogenesis, that's what it targets. It does almost nothing, to slow the absorption of sugar from your food as it passes through your small intestine. That's a completely different mechanism, a completely different stage of the process. And that's exactly where this seed steps in. It fills a gap that your medication was never designed to address. So, what is this seed? It's chia, Salvia hispanica, a tiny black and white seed from the mint family. It's actually related to lavender and rosemary, which is kind of interesting, that the Aztecs called the running food. And no, this isn't some wellness trend that showed up last Tuesday. The clinical evidence behind chia and blood sugar is deep, specific, and growing every year. Let me show you exactly what it does inside your body. 7 benefits, ranked from important to life-changing. And the number 1 benefit, I gotta be honest, it's the one that changed how I think about blood sugar management entirely. We're going worst to best. Let's start. Benefit number 7, omega-3 fatty acid delivery. Now I know what you're thinking. Omega-3s? How is that a blood sugar benefit? I thought omega-3s were for your heart. And honestly, I almost didn't include this one. I went back and forth. But here's why it matters more than you realize, especially after 60. Chia seeds are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid. That's ALA, the plant form of omega-3. 1 ounce, that's about 2 tablespoons, gives you roughly 5 grams of ALA. That's more than most fish oil supplements give you in an entire day. Way more. And you're getting it from a food, not a capsule that burps fish taste for 3 hours. And here's where it connects to blood sugar. This is the part that most people miss. Chronic inflammation, the low-grade kind that builds up silently over decades, the kind you can't feel, is one of the primary drivers of insulin resistance. Your cells don't stop responding to insulin for no reason. They don't just wake up one morning and decide to ignore insulin. They stop responding because inflammatory signals, cytokines specifically, are jamming the communication between insulin and your cell receptors. It's like, okay, imagine trying to make a phone call during a thunderstorm. The signal is there. Your phone is working. The tower is working. But the interference from the storm won't let the signal get through clearly. That's what inflammation does to insulin signaling. The insulin is there, your receptors are there, but the inflammatory noise is so loud that the message gets lost. ALA from chia seeds has been shown in multiple studies to reduce inflammatory markers, C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, TNF-alpha. Not dramatically overnight, nobody's claiming that, but steadily, consistently, over weeks and months. It quiets the interference, so your insulin signals can actually reach your cells and do their job. Is this the most powerful benefit of chia seeds? No. That's why it's number 7. But think of it as the foundation. The thing that makes everything else on this list work better. If your body is chronically inflamed, nothing works as well as it should. Not metformin, not dietary changes, not exercise. Inflammation is the sand in the gears. And this is important. Your body cannot make omega-3 fatty acids on its own. Can't do it. Doesn't have the enzyme pathway. You have to get them from food, period. If you're not eating fatty fish 3 times a week. And let's be real, most people over 60 aren't doing that. You're probably deficient. And if you're deficient in omega-3s, your insulin resistance has one more factor working against it that you didn't even know about. 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. 5 grams of ALA. 12 cents. Every single day. That's your anti-inflammatory foundation. Now let me show you what builds on top of it. Benefit number 6. Complete protein with all essential amino acids. This one surprises people. A lot. Because most folks think of chia as a fiber food. A gut health food. The little seeds you put in water and they turn into goop. But chia seeds contain between 15 and 25% protein by weight. And unlike most plant proteins, unlike beans, unlike rice, unlike wheat, chia provides all 9 essential amino acids. The complete set. That's rare for any plant food. That's actually really rare. Now, why does that matter for blood sugar? And this is where it gets personal for a lot of people watching this, because muscle is your number 1 glucose disposal system. I need you to hear that. Muscle, your skeletal muscle, is the single largest tissue in your body that absorbs glucose from your bloodstream. When you eat carbohydrates and insulin tells your body to clear that glucose out of the blood, where does most of it go? Your muscles. 70 to 80% of glucose disposal after a meal happens in skeletal muscle. But after 60, you're losing muscle, about 3 to 8% per decade. It's called sarcopenia. And every pound of muscle you lose means less capacity to pull glucose out of your bloodstream. Less tissue, fewer receptors, less absorption. So your blood sugar rises, not because you ate more carbs, not because your medication stopped working, but because you have fewer places to put the glucose. Your parking lot got smaller, but the same number of cars are showing up. This is, and I'm being straight with you, this is one of the most underdiagnosed reasons for worsening blood sugar in people over 60. Doctors look at the glucose number, they look at the A1C, they adjust the medication, but they almost never measure your muscle mass. They almost never say, hey, your blood sugar is rising because you've lost 7 pounds of muscle since your last scan. That conversation almost never happens. Chia protein supports muscle maintenance. Now I want to be clear. It's not going to replace a chicken breast or a steak dinner. That's not what I'm suggesting. But when you're eating it daily, especially combined with the other mechanisms I'm about to show you, it contributes to preserving the very tissue that keeps your blood sugar under control. And here's the part most people miss entirely. When you eat chia with a carbohydrate-heavy meal, the protein content helps slow gastric emptying all on its own. Protein takes longer to digest than simple carbs. Way longer. So the sugar from that meal enters your bloodstream more gradually, not in a rush, in a trickle. So the protein is doing double duty. It's protecting your muscles, your glucose disposal system, and it's simultaneously slowing the glucose spike from whatever meal you just ate. That's elegant. That's nature doing something pretty smart. Now, everything I've explained so far covers what happens during the day. how your body processes food, how protein and omega-3s support insulin function. But there's a whole other side to this. What happens while you sleep? That's actually something I wrote a full guide about. It's called The Midnight Insulin Trap. I'll leave the link in the description. But right now, let's keep going because benefit number 5 is where things start to get really interesting. Benefit number 5, antioxidant protection for your pancreas. All right, stop for a second. Did you catch what I just showed you in the last 2 sections? Omega-3s reduce the inflammatory interference, blocking your insulin. Protein preserves the muscle tissue that absorbs your glucose. Those are both support systems. They set the stage. But benefit number 5, this one goes after the source, the organ that makes insulin in the first place. Your pancreas is a small organ, about 6 inches long, sits behind your stomach, tucked up near your spine. Most people never think about it, never worry about it, until something goes wrong. And it has one job, one critical job, that determines everything about your blood sugar management, producing insulin through specialized cells called beta cells. After 60, your pancreatic beta cells are under constant attack. And this is the part that doesn't get talked about enough. The attack comes from oxidative stress, free radicals, reactive oxygen species. Scientists call them ROS. These are basically molecular vandals. Unstable molecules bouncing around inside your cells, damaging everything they touch. They damage the proteins inside your beta cells. They damage the membranes. They damage the DNA. And over time, we're talking years of accumulated damage, your pancreas produces less and less insulin. Not because it's lazy, not because it doesn't want to, because the cellular machinery is physically breaking down. The factory equipment is corroding. Here's where chia comes in. Chia seeds contain a cocktail of polyphenolic antioxidants, chlorogenic acid, caffeic acid, myricetin, quercetin, camphorol. Those names probably don't mean much to you, but what they do is neutralize free radicals before they can reach your beta cells. They intercept the vandals before they get to the factory. Think of it like this. Your pancreas is a factory. Oxidative stress is rust. The rust builds up on the machinery year after year. Antioxidants are rust-proofing. They don't rebuild the machinery that's already damaged, but they slow down the rusting on the machinery you still have. Now, does this mean chia seeds will regenerate your pancreas? No, that would be dishonest to claim. Once beta cells are destroyed, they don't come back easily. The science is clear on that. But can chia seeds help protect the beta cells you still have? The ones still working, still producing insulin, still fighting for you? The research strongly suggests yes. And the quercetin specifically. This is the compound that's gotten the most research attention in diabetic contexts. It's been shown to prevent the oxidation of fats, proteins, and DNA simultaneously. That's 3 layers of cellular protection from a single compound that occurs naturally in this one seed. 3 layers. Here's what gets me, though, and this is where the math just doesn't make sense. You can buy quercetin as an isolated supplement for $20, $30 a bottle. Or you can eat 2 tablespoons of chia seeds that cost about 12 cents, and get quercetin plus chlorogenic acid plus caffeic acid plus myricetin plus camphorol, all working together in the ratios that nature designed them to work in. Your body recognizes food differently than it recognizes pills. The absorption pathways, the synergy between compounds. It's fundamentally not the same thing. And the people selling you the $30 bottle know that. But let's keep moving, because benefit number 4 is where the clinical trial data gets really specific, really measurable, and really hard to ignore. Benefit number 4, postprandial glucose reduction, the clinical evidence. All right, now we're getting into the hard science, the peer-reviewed, double-blind, published in major journals kind of science. And this is the benefit that most people come to chia seeds for, even though, and this might surprise you, it's only number 4 on my list. Stick around. You'll understand why when you see number 1. Let me walk you through the research, because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to see the data for yourself. Researchers at the University of Toronto, led by Dr. Vladimir Vucsan, who is honestly one of the world's leading authorities on dietary fiber and glycemic response. The man has been publishing on this for over 20 years, ran multiple clinical trials specifically on chia seeds and what they do to blood sugar after a meal. Postprandial glycemia. That's the technical term. Post, after. Prandial, meal. Glycemia, blood sugar. The spike that happens within 1 to 2 hours after you eat. In a 2010 randomized controlled trial published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, Vucsan's team found that whole grain chia, they used a variety called salba, significantly reduced the postprandial glucose excursion in participants compared to control. And the mechanism they identified? It wasn't about blocking enzymes. It wasn't about stimulating insulin. It was about the mucilage, that gel-like coating that forms around the seed when it contacts liquid, physically slowing the rate at which sugar moved from the gut into the bloodstream. Physical, not chemical. Physical. Now, that was 2010. They didn't stop there. In a follow-up dose-response trial in 2013, published in the same journal, Ho and colleagues specifically tested different amounts, 7 grams, 15 grams, and 24 grams, and confirmed that both whole and ground chia seeds reduced postprandial blood glucose in healthy volunteers. And here's the key word, dose-dependent, meaning the more chia they used, the greater the glucose reduction. It wasn't random. It was linear, predictable, measurable. That's what you want to see in clinical data. And then, and this is where it gets really compelling for people over 60, a separate 2020 study out of Spain used something called the SIMG system. It's a dynamic gastrointestinal simulation. Basically, an artificial gut, a machine designed to replicate what happens inside your actual digestive tract. Not a petri dish, not a test tube. A system that mimics stomach acid, intestinal enzymes, absorption rates, transit time, the whole process. They added chia seed mucilage to this system and measured glucose absorption. The result? Up to a 50% reduction in glucose bioaccessibility at the intestinal level, 50%, and the glucose dialysis retardation index, which is basically how much the mucilage delayed sugar from passing through the intestinal barrier, peaked at over 53% by the end of small intestine digestion. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here, because honesty is more important to me than hype. A 2024 meta-analysis. That's where researchers pooled together data from multiple trials to look at the big picture. Reviewed 8 randomized controlled trials involving 362 participants. And they found that chia seeds did not significantly reduce fasting blood glucose or HbA1c when you combine all the data together. That's an important finding. I'm not going to hide it. It tells us chia seeds are not a fasting glucose drug. They're not going to magically lower your morning number. They're not going to replace your metformin. Anyone telling you that is lying. But, and this is the critical distinction that most people miss, chia seeds target the postprandial spike, the after-meal spike. And if you're over 60 and dealing with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, those postprandial spikes are where the silent damage accumulates. Every spike is a wave of excess sugar crashing against your blood vessel walls, against the tiny capillaries feeding your kidneys, against the delicate nerve endings in your feet and hands. Chia doesn't stop the river. It slows it to a stream. And over time, over months and years, that difference between a river and a stream is the difference between complications and control. Benefit number 3, blood pressure reduction in diabetic patients. Okay, now I know some of you are thinking, wait a second, this is a video about blood sugar. Why are you talking about blood pressure? And if you're thinking that, you're making the same mistake that a lot of doctors make. Because blood sugar and blood pressure are not separate problems. They are the same problem, expressing itself in 2 different ways through 2 different systems in your body. And when you understand that connection, everything I'm about to tell you makes perfect sense. A 2021 randomized controlled trial, I'll link the exact study in the description, published by Alwaseus and colleagues, took 42 adults with confirmed type 2 diabetes and randomly assigned them to two groups. One group consumed 40 grams of chia seeds per day for 12 weeks on top of their normal diet. The other group changed nothing. Same medications, same lifestyle, just the chia. The chia group showed a statistically significant reduction in systolic blood pressure compared to the control group. Systolic. That's the top number on your blood pressure reading, the one that matters most for stroke risk, the one your cardiologist watches like a hawk. And these were people already on diabetes medication, already being managed. The chia reduced their blood pressure on top of everything else they were doing. But here's the thing I really need you to understand. Here's the connection that ties this whole video together. When your blood pressure is chronically elevated, even moderately elevated, even just a little high, as your doctor might say, it damages the small blood vessels that feed your kidneys. Your kidneys are not just a waste filtering system. Your kidneys actively regulate blood sugar through something called renal glucose reabsorption. Damaged kidneys means worse blood sugar control. And worse blood sugar means more damage to blood vessels, which raises blood pressure further, which damages kidneys more. You see the loop, you see the cycle. High blood sugar damages blood vessels. Damaged blood vessels raise blood pressure. High blood pressure damages kidneys. Damaged kidneys worsen blood sugar control. And round it goes, year after year, getting a little worse each time. And most people don't even feel it happening until something breaks. Chia interrupts that cycle at multiple points simultaneously. The fiber slows sugar absorption, that reduces the glucose spikes that damage vessels. The omega-3s reduce inflammation in blood vessel walls, that protects vessel integrity. The potassium and magnesium naturally present in chia support vascular relaxation. That's a fancy way of saying they help your blood vessels stay flexible instead of stiff. It's not attacking one problem from one angle. It's applying pressure to the entire destructive loop from several directions at once. And the 2017 Vuxan trial. This was the big one. 77 patients, double-blind, randomized, 6 months long, published in Nutrition, Metabolism, and Cardiovascular Diseases, found that the chia group had a 39% reduction in C-reactive protein, CRP. That's the gold standard marker for systemic inflammation, 39%. Let me put that in context. A 39% reduction in CRP over 6 months from adding a seed to your diet. Not a statin, not a biologic injection, not a new pharmaceutical compound, a seed. That costs $3 a bag. I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm ranting. But that data exists. It's published. It's peer-reviewed. And the number of times I've heard an endocrinologist bring it up in conversation, 0. Literally 0. All right, let me show you the top 2, because these are the ones that made me sit up straight when I first read the research. And that right there is the part that frustrates me. Because this overnight blood pressure cycle, the one where your blood pressure is supposed to dip while you sleep but doesn't in most people over 60, this is what catches most people completely off guard. You manage everything perfectly during the day, and then you wake up and the numbers are worse. That right there is why I wrote The Midnight Insulin Trap. It covers exactly what happens to your blood sugar and blood pressure between midnight and 6 a.m., and how to build a nighttime system that works with your body instead of against it. Link is in the description. But let me finish showing you the top 2 benefits, because honestly, number 1 is the reason I made this video. Benefit number 2, the mucilage gel, a physical barrier against sugar absorption. Okay, this is the mechanism that makes chia seeds genuinely unique. Not unique among seeds, not unique among health foods, unique among all foods that exist on this planet. When chia seeds come into contact with any liquid, water, saliva, stomach acid, intestinal fluid, doesn't matter. The outer coating hydrates and expands into a viscous, gel-like substance called mucilage. And this isn't a thin coating. This gel can absorb up to 27 times the seed's own weight in water. 27 times. If you weigh 150 pounds, imagine absorbing 4,000 pounds of water. That's the proportional equivalent. That's how absorbent this mucilage is. Now, picture that gel forming inside your small intestine, right at the exact location where sugar gets absorbed into your bloodstream, right at the wall of your gut where glucose molecules pass through into your blood. What happens is, the gel creates a physical diffusion barrier, a wall of viscous material. The sugar molecules from your meal, the glucose, the fructose, whatever carbohydrate you just ate, they have to pass through this thick, gel-like layer before they can reach the intestinal wall and get absorbed. And that takes time. A lot more time than it would without the gel present. I want you to visualize this because it's important. Imagine walking across an empty room. Takes you, 5 seconds? Now imagine that room is filled waist deep with thick mud. You'll still get to the other side. Nobody's stopping you. But instead of 5 seconds, it takes you 2 minutes. That's what the chia mucilage does to glucose in your gut. The sugar still gets absorbed. It has to. That's how your body works. But it gets absorbed slowly, gradually, in a manageable stream instead of a sudden flood. And this is fundamentally different from how pharmaceutical approaches work. Drugs like acarbose, which doctors prescribe specifically for postprandial spikes, work by inhibiting the enzymes that break starch into sugar. Alpha-glucosidase inhibitors. They block the chemical breakdown. Chia doesn't do that at all. Chia doesn't stop the breakdown. It slows the absorption after the breakdown has already happened. They work at completely different stages of the digestive process. Which means, and pay close attention to this, they can potentially work together. They're not competing. They're complementary. One stops the knife from cutting. The other one catches what falls through. A 2025 study from the University of Chile specifically investigated chia mucilage's effect on intestinal glucose absorption using an in vitro model with CACO2 intestinal epithelial cells. Those are the cells that line your small intestine. The researchers found that chia mucilage significantly reduced glucose dialysability. That's the measure of how much glucose actually passes through the intestinal barrier. And they even found effects on alpha amylase activity. That's the enzyme that breaks starch down in the first place. So it's affecting multiple stages, not just one. And in a 2023 randomized, double-blind crossover study, researchers incorporated chia seeds into cookies at different doses, 3 grams, 5 grams, and 7 grams, and tested them against control cookies with no chia. The results? The cookies with 7 grams of chia reduced postprandial glucose by approximately 30% compared to the control cookies. 30% from a cookie. That had chia seeds baked into it. This is not a theoretical benefit. This is a measurable, reproducible, physical mechanism that occurs every single time you eat chia seeds with a meal. Every time. Because physics doesn't take days off. And the best part? No prescription required. No side effects like the bloating and gas and abdominal cramping that acarbose commonly causes. No monthly refills, no insurance copay. It costs 12 cents a serving. Benefit number 1, sustained glycemic control through multi-mechanism synergy. All right, here it is. The reason I made this video. The reason I put chia seeds at the top of my list. And here's why I genuinely, not as a talking point, genuinely believe endocrinologists should be discussing this with their patients. Every other food or supplement that affects blood sugar works through one mechanism, one pathway, one angle of attack. Berberine activates AMPK. Cinnamon improves insulin receptor sensitivity. Chromium supports glucose transport into cells. Alpha-lipoic acid scavenges free radicals. Each one does one thing, one mechanism. Chia seeds work through at least 5 simultaneous mechanisms. At the same time, in the same serving, from the same tablespoon. Let me lay them out. 1. The mucilage gel physically slows glucose absorption through the intestinal wall. We covered that. It's physics. 2. The soluble fiber delays gastric emptying. Food leaves your stomach more slowly, which means carbohydrates are released into the small intestine more gradually. Less rush, less spike. 3. The protein content triggers satiety hormones, peptide YY, cholecystokinin, that reduce your overall food intake. You eat less without thinking about it, without willpower, without counting anything. The hormones just do their job. 4. The omega-3 fatty acids reduce the chronic low-grade inflammation that drives insulin resistance at the cellular level. We covered that too. The anti-inflammatory foundation. And 5, this is the one that stopped me in my tracks when I first read it. The fermentation of chia seed fiber in your large intestine produces short-chain fatty acids, specifically butyrate. And butyrate stimulates the release of GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1. Let me tell you why those 3 letters matter. GLP-1 is the exact same hormone pathway that Ozempic targets. The exact same one. Semaglutide, that's the drug name for Ozempic. It's a GLP-1 receptor agonist. It mimics GLP-1. And it costs, what, $1,000 a month? $1,200? More? The fermentation of chia seed fiber in your gut produces natural GLP-1 through the exact same biological pathway for $3 a bag. Now, stop. I need to be responsible here. Is 2 tablespoons of chia seeds going to produce the same GLP-1 response as a weekly Ozempic injection? No, absolutely not. Not even close. That would be irresponsible to claim, and I'm not claiming it. The dose-response relationship between food-derived butyrate and injectable semaglutide is not comparable in magnitude. I want to be crystal clear about that. But the fact that the same biological pathway is being activated, the same hormone is being stimulated, by a food that has been eaten for 5,000 years, that costs $3 a bag, and sits on the shelf at every grocery store in America. And your endocrinologist has never mentioned it. I need you to sit with that for a second. It's not that chia seeds are being suppressed. I want to be clear. This isn't a conspiracy. There's no shadowy board meeting where doctors vote to hide chia seeds. It's something simpler than that, and honestly, it's sadder. Doctors have 12 minutes per appointment. 12 minutes to review your labs, check your feet, adjust your medication, answer your questions, and document everything for legal compliance. They don't have time, literally do not have the minutes, to explain the biochemistry of mucilage gel formation and short-chain fatty acid fermentation and GLP-1 pathways from dietary fiber. It's faster to adjust a dose. Write a script, move to the next patient. The system doesn't reward education, it rewards throughput. But you have time, right now. You're watching this. You've been here for over 35 minutes. And you deserve to know that a food exists. A real, whole food. Not a supplement, not a pharmaceutical, not a trend, that addresses 5 of the mechanisms driving your blood sugar higher every single day. That's why it's number 1 on my list. Now, stop. Stop right here. Before you go out and buy a 5-pound bag of chia seeds tomorrow morning and dump them into everything you eat. There are things that cancel the benefit. Things that most wellness websites, most Instagram posts, most TikTok health coaches will never warn you about. And if you get these wrong, you could actually make your situation worse. Not better. Worse. I need you to hear all 4 of these. Mistake number 1. Eating chia seeds dry. This is the big one. This is the one that ends up in emergency room reports. And yeah, that sounds dramatic, but it's happened. Chia seeds need liquid to form the gel. That's the whole point. The mucilage, the barrier I just spent 10 minutes explaining, only activates when the seed contacts water. If you eat them dry, just toss them in your mouth like you would sunflower seeds or peanuts. 2 things happen. First, you don't get the mucilage benefit at all. No gel forms, no barrier, no glucose slowing. You just ate crunchy little seeds that pass through your system without doing what I described. Second, and this is the important part, dry chia seeds absorb moisture from your digestive tract. They swell, inside your esophagus, inside your stomach, and in rare cases, this has caused blockages. Actual obstructions that required medical intervention. Always soak them. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. Even 5 minutes in a glass of water starts the gel formation. Stir them once, let them sit, drink the whole thing. Always. Always with liquid. Mistake number 2, taking chia seeds at the same time as blood-thinning medication. Chia seeds have a mild blood-thinning effect because of the omega-3 content, the ALA. That's generally a good thing for cardiovascular health. But if you're on warfarin, Coumadin, or if you're on aspirin therapy, or clopidogrel, or any other anticoagulant, this matters. It matters a lot. I'm not saying you can't eat chia seeds. I'm not saying they're dangerous. I'm saying you need to tell your doctor you're adding them to your diet so they can monitor your INR levels. That's the blood clotting test. Because the omega-3 from chia plus your anticoagulant medication could push your blood too thin. And too thin means bruising, bleeding, or in serious cases, hemorrhage. This is not optional. This is a drug-nutrient interaction. Tell your doctor. Let them adjust if needed. Mistake number 3, combining chia with high-sugar beverages. I have seen, and I wish I was exaggerating, I have seen people on social media making chia fresca with mango juice, grape juice, apple juice that contains 40 grams of sugar per cup. 40 grams. That's 10 teaspoons of sugar. You're creating the mucilage gel inside a sugar bomb. And yeah, the gel will slow absorption somewhat. But you're still flooding your system with more glucose than your body can reasonably handle in one sitting. It's like putting a speed bump on a highway and then driving a truck full of dynamite over it. The speed bump helped a little. The truck still exploded. Use water. Use unsweetened almond milk. Use plain coconut water if you want a little flavor. Not juice, not soda, not sweetened yogurt drinks, not those fruit smoothies from the grocery store with 35 grams of added sugar hidden on the label. Read the label. Mistake number 4, expecting results without consistency. This one is subtle, but it kills more progress than any of the others. The clinical trials that showed meaningful benefits, they ran for 12 weeks minimum. The Vuxan diabetes trial, 6 months. 6 months of daily consumption. That's how the body responds to dietary changes, slowly, gradually, cumulatively. 1 tablespoon of chia seeds on a random Tuesday is not going to change your blood sugar profile. It just isn't. This is a daily practice, like brushing your teeth. You don't brush once and call it done for the month. The benefit comes from repetition, from consistency, from doing it today and doing it again tomorrow and the day after that. Every day. For months. That's when you'll see the results in your labs. All right, here's your action plan. I'm going to keep this simple. No overwhelm, no complicated protocol. 5 steps, start today. Step 1, go to any grocery store, anyone. Walmart, Costco, Trader Joe's, your local market. Buy a bag of chia seeds. Look in the health food aisle or near the baking supplies. Organic if you can find it, but regular is fine too. Black chia or white chia genuinely doesn't matter. The nutritional profile is virtually identical. The bag should cost you between $3 and $6. That's going to last you 3 to 4 weeks. Step 2. Start with 1 tablespoon per day. Just 1. Put it in a glass. Add about 6 to 8 ounces of water. Stir it up. Wait 10 minutes. You'll see the gel form. The water gets thick, almost like a thin pudding. Drink the whole thing about 15 to 20 minutes before your largest meal of the day. That's it. That's the whole protocol for week 1. Don't overthink it. Step 3. By week 2, if you're tolerating it well, no digestive discomfort, no bloating, move to 2 tablespoons per day. Split them. 1 tablespoon soaked in water before your biggest meal. 1 tablespoon mixed into your breakfast. Stir it into oatmeal, blend it into a smoothie, fold it into plain yogurt. Remember, always with liquid. Never dry, always with liquid. Step 4. After 30 days of consistent daily use, ask your doctor to check your postprandial glucose at your next appointment. Not your fasting glucose. Postprandial. 2 hours after a standardized meal. That's where you'll see the change first. Your fasting number might not budge much. That's normal. That's what the meta-analysis showed. But your post-meal spike? That's where chia does its work. Ask for that specific test. Step 5. Track how you feel. I mean, really track it. Get a notebook. Nothing fancy. Write down 3 things every day. Your energy level after meals, on a scale of 1 to 10. Your cravings between meals, better, same, or worse. And if you check your own blood sugar, your 2-hour post-meal reading. Do this for 30 days. Because the data you collect on your own body, from your own experience, is worth more than any study I can show you on a screen. You are the study. You are the trial. N equals 1. And your results are the only ones that matter. 1 change, 1 seed, 12 cents a day. And you're addressing 5 mechanisms of blood sugar dysfunction simultaneously, without a new prescription, without a new supplement regimen, without fear. That's what control looks like. Now, one more thing before you go, and this is important. If this video covered what happens to your blood sugar during the day, how food enters your gut, how the gel works, how absorption changes with chia, then the question you should be asking yourself right now is, what happens at night? Because for most people over 60, the nighttime hours are when the real damage happens. While you're asleep, while you think everything is fine, your liver starts dumping glucose into your bloodstream around 2 a.m. It's called the dawn phenomenon. Cortisol rises in the hours before you wake up. And everything you did right during the day, every good meal, every tablespoon of chia, every healthy choice, gets partially undone while you're lying there unconscious,